Hi everyone and welcome back. This is Sky coming on to talk to you about the November 2025 Comprehensive Astrology. Welcome back everyone. I'm so looking forward to talking to you all about the month ahead. It feels like a little while since I've been here on YouTube. Yes, in this video here in the beginning, I want to give you guys a few updates about the channel, where I'm currently at, as well as just welcome you aboard as we talk about this incredible month ahead. I've been so looking forward to talking about November, as actually it's the month that I've most looked forward to in the 2025 year cycle because of the grand water trines happening and some of the very rare transits that we have here. But yes, as could also be expected during such transits, real life catches up, as I'm sure you all have been seeing as well. If you want to navigate to the timeline below, there will be some video chapters where you'll see what all the video offers, from the intuitive messages to the transits. But yes, I am going to do just a bit of housekeeping as well right now and talk to you all a little bit about where I'm at. Which is basically not with a lot of spare time on my hands. I've been talking more about this over on Patreon. But yeah, I've been really struggling with my dad's health, and I've been in the hospital a lot with him, and this has actually been something that's been kind of flaring up since about August, and it's really come to a head here in October and early November. As of right now, and this could change, I think that things are going to be fine for November. We had a little bit of a disruption in October for content here on YouTube for sure, and a bit on Patreon, but coming back together. But I believe as the way that things look right now, things will be normal for the November content. I do plan to do a full community post, so if you guys want to thumb over to my channel and check out the community post tab, you can get some more information there. But yes, I believe that we're out of the woods and coming to a more normal place, but everything's been very destabilized and draining and very difficult. As yes, the healthcare system here in the US is a major challenge to work with, aside from just having like a major health problem. You know, both issues can kind of run, contradictory to each other. So as many of you know. But yes, I just wanted to let you know that that is why I've been a little bit more absent on YouTube lately. We just had October Comprehensive Astrology over here, and then now I have November Comprehensive Astrology going up here. I'm hoping to get 2 or 3 more videos in for November at least, but yeah, that will depend on how things go. But yes, there should be also full content over on Patreon, sign by signs, T-chats as of now, fingers crossed. That should all be totally possible. So if you're craving some more content, definitely come over to this channel's Patreon page that will be linked below. And I will have a lot of premium content, as there is plenty from the months past as well, if you are craving some extra content that is applicable to this period of time as well. So definitely go and check that out. Things are available for purchase on demand, as well as with really simple, affordable monthly memberships. But yeah, let's go ahead and get into the actual elements of this video and talk about November 2025, possibly the most important month of the year, though I will say December is quite huge as well. So is October. I mean, really, if you guys remember in the 2025 year ahead forecast, I was talking about how by about the second point of the year, once we passed the fall equinox, and got into like late September and October, that things were going to like really kind of zero into a new like focus point, and we were going to get very different ideas about some of the things we were involved in. And essentially things were going to get very main story. Okay, so instead of kind of being caught up on the side quest element of life, yes, as we hit late September, we suddenly had to like really zero in on the main element of our lives and make sure that the central core sort of nucleus elements were well and not just tend to the periphery. So that's going to intensify in November. I'm seeing this as a very challenging time for people who have a shyness about dealing with the essential elements of life. There's been a sort of cultural phenomenon of like, I don't really need to think about the serious things in my life. I can kind of tend to some of the sideline elements, even if my entire life makes no sense, as long as I have a comfortable bed and a video game console and maybe an expensive coffee or, apps that I like on my smartphone. then that's fine. And I just kind of allow, difficulty, chaos, and sort of corrupted central core experiences to proliferate, while essentially using certain sensory coping mechanisms to make this feel okay to me in the present moment. So there's an energy inversion that I feel very strongly in November for things like that. And we were already working on this as we went through the 2024 year cycle. If you guys remember, we had a lot of stuff dealing with puzzle solving, anomalies, and things that just did not make sense. And 2024, that dragon year that we went through, it really wanted us to look at things that were not adding up. It's like, okay, you enjoy this coping mechanism or you enjoy this sensory experience. If you have this feeling of joy, why is something so integral in your life still off? Like essentially having things that are severely off, yet faking a feeling of joy or forcing a feeling of joy. This could also be like addictions, okay? In essence, like usually people develop addictions because something at a very central level is off and they can't cope with the pain of that. They can't figure out how to change it. So they'll often like force some type of dopamine response in the brain to like survive this at a sensory level, even if there's no like real shift to the integrity of the situation. So this is what November is dealing with, you all. November in this Scorpio season, oh my gosh, it's going to zero in on these core issues. So for example, some kind of business system structure that doesn't work at a core level will not continue past this point in the same form. There can be collapses, there can be implosions, there can be severe structural failure, okay? This is also indicated to me by the Saturn-Neptune retrogrades at the anaretic degree of Pisces and these grand water trines coming, right? We've got Mars in Scorpio, we've got Scorpio season, we've got Jupiter in Cancer. We've just got a very powerful time for the washing away of debris, getting the path cleared, and in some cases a bit of a descent, okay, into the unknown for some people. It's a very powerful time for such things as like limbo states, gray area, not really understanding the future or understanding the trajectory one is on, not perhaps feeling confident in predicting outcomes or where things are headed. It's kind of like a fog, right? Obviously having Neptune and Saturn doing this, and then all this water trine could be like a foggy kind of terrain, or just something that is also not surmisable, meaning like the surface of the water looks a certain way, but beneath it, it looks a different way. The current doesn't look very strong, but in fact, it cannot be swam through, okay? Kind of like undertows in the ocean. Maybe this looks like very peaceful, serene water, but in fact, there's a very strong undertow, okay? So yes, we are learning. We're getting a crash course, I would say, in the water element here, which is quite unfamiliar for a lot of us. But what I will say about that, and what I will say about these water trines, give me a thumbs up below and comment if you would like a standalone video just about the water trines. As I've never seen water trines quite like this before at a transit level. It's really actually quite sublime and beautiful. If you respect it, and if you don't get too egotistical within it. But yes, working with the water element. So what it means is that something has to be cleansed out. Something has gotten dirty, essentially. Something doesn't work right anymore. Something is past its time. Something can't continue in the way it was going before. This also means that we're kind of like going around rather than pushing through. You know how water kind of encapsulates the form of whichever structure it's in. So this means that it's also difficult here to force a structure to be a certain way. And we do in some cases have to conform to a certain shape or a certain preset in order to navigate this, meaning like having to navigate the legal system. I mean, you have to work within those parameters, okay? You have to sort of conform to those standards and guidelines, or perhaps having to restructure a business, or having to move house or change structure, right? You have to kind of work within a preset, determined element. Like, okay, I've got to take a mortgage to buy this house, or I've got to have movers ready to go from this place to that place. Like, there are these kind of like presets that we have to work within to flow through this time. Because one thing that I want to be very clear about is this is not a time where I would see things being the same as they were before. So like, we leave October, okay? And November is going to be one of those transitional months where it's like, when I went into December, or when I came past this time, I realized that on the other side of this, things were not the same. So that means that like, we can't really just cower in the structure that's familiar to us. We can't just be unwilling to get out of our comfort zone either. You know, with the planets here, like Mars in Scorpio, Saturn, Neptune in Pisces, Jupiter in Cancer. This is sort of like, this for some people can be like a comfort from the universe. It's like, you're okay to just walk through this door now. You don't have to be here anymore. You don't have to put up with this from some people either. Like, even if a lot of people are stacked against you and you're in the right, like, it's very, very easy here to actually summon some type of stronger force to keep you well within the path of righteousness despite opposition. Can I get an amen for that? Okay, that's really good. Give me a thumbs up. Give me a comment for that. That's what I feel like we all need. We have to like be confident in our positions. We have to know when we're in a state of righteousness, and we can't be like convinced by the opposition or convinced by other people to essentially continue cowering in this state of disempowerment, or to continue sort of kneeling or falling to something that doesn't really understand, or is operating from like a foggy perspective, or a certain like disconnected kind of unknown space too. There's a lot of decision making here that is operating from in some cases like a lawless territory, or something that's just out of the bounds of reality. So like delusional decision making is what I'm saying. There's a lot of sort of misplaced protocol, or even like states of anarchy or states of dysregulation that generate almost a just imperceptibility of the real structure at hand. So yeah, some things are not going to make sense in November, like why certain decisions are being made, why certain things are trying to be enforced, or why people have the positions that they have may seem somewhat non sequitur to reality. So do prepare yourself for that. It's very important to be perceiving the true reality state at hand. In some cases, to be fighting on the side of like life, light, and capacity, rather than like death, failure, or unknown. As I feel that these things in the long run will work better in hindsight, because we are moving toward, you know, February, March, where all this Aries energy comes back in. And because of that, I feel that eventually we're going to want to look back and see that we chose life, or we chose certain possibility rather than cutting things too short. Now, I also feel intuitively for November that there is like this gap energy. There's sort of like a chasm. Something's being crossed. It's very easy here, if I'm thinking of like relationships, to see that now there is a gap between people, or like one party has crossed into a different territory, but the other party is still like back there. And can we build a bridge or not? Also, are we willing to meet halfway on that bridge, or are we expecting one another to come to each other completely with no compromise? So the gaps have become too big is a major psychic download that I got meditating about this month. Whereas in September or October, we did have a chance, like this last little chance to kind of like reforge connection, or to come to compromise. November, it's not that it's impossible. It's just like there's like this growing gap. You guys will know what I mean when you go through this time. There's like too much time has passed to, in some cases, connect these dots. There's no ability to retroactively work with this. This had to be done back then, and it was not. So like now the gap is just simply too big. It's very possible to have here. And also, there's some times where I feel compromise is just simply not possible, or People have to stretch too far to compromise. So there is like separation here as well for some people. And there is going the separate way, being on separate pages, being unable to come to agreements, which is a further movement towards collective conflict and more of a warring energy as well that I feel at a both micro and macro relationship level. But there is this grand water trine indeed, and all of a sudden a lot of that romance with war or that romance with conflict is extinguished by all this water energy, yet the conflict remains. So people begin to also become less taken with the idea of conflict. But oh no, the gap is too large to reforge or compromise now, so we're kind of stuck in some cases in a conflict state, or we are now in a state of conflict past the point of, healing this in a easier diplomatic way, and like no one's going to enjoy it really past this point. So here we have like essentially the cost of war or the cost of conflict becoming something that is not in any way able to be spun as like good for anybody. So another thing that I'm seeing about Scorpio season this year in November, I mean, to be very simple, is like, oh no, we've made certain choices and we have to like now live with the ripple effects of those choices. And we can't go back in time and change these choices. All we can do is begin to make choices that get us more toward like where we want to be. But where is that? Can we let conflict go so that we can choice up in the right way? And while this is the case for most people, I'm also sensing that there are exceptional outcomes for other people. Essentially, some people have been very, what's the word? I don't know. People have been very economical and disciplined about kind of like navigating these conflicts. And there's kind of like a rewarding energy for some people here. Though I feel that they also cannot get stuck or held up in this, and that there is still a need to move on from most conflicts. Can you pay for this? Can you stay afloat? Can you also measure out the energy being spent to afford this, whether this is a conflict, a business or a goal or project? We had that very, very powerful Virgo season that we went through with those eclipses, which should have gotten us like super clear on, what it costs to do this, what it takes to, have this life orientation. But again, there's this grand water trine coming in here, and it's kind of washing a lot of that away. Also, you could see here that now that's remeasuring again. So keep methodical, keep diligent. And I feel that there's a bit of a, before I get into the transits, there's something about like January 2026 coming up. So like between now and January, we may have like a lot racked up. So like careful, for example, about racking up expenses between now and then. I see around like the time of like January 5th, like a bill being presented or certain things having to be paid for. So like essentially the battles that we take on during this time may come to a certain cost by then. And, are we able to pay for that? Will be something that we need to be considering each day, which is kind of getting me back into that place where it's like, again, what we learned in Virgo season this year, September and a bit of August, can I make present decisions that make sense now and in the future? Try to not get unconscious with your spending. Try to not get unconscious with your decision making. And of course, yes, with these grand water trines, there's going to be a lot of focus on release and what we no longer need, what we can essentially give to the water element. You do have sort of like the energy of certain sacrifices made. Okay. In essence, in order to fight this battle, I may have to relinquish something else, because I can't be weighed down by it to, really go through this. So like there is a feeling of like picking or selecting that which we can actually put our energy into and that which we can't. But yeah, on that note, let's go ahead and get into the astrology transits. I'm just writing down our timestamp here. Okay, so I did jot down some of the transits that stood out to me about November, and I'll kind of go through these timelines and talk about these transits. First, we have November 4th, Mars in Sagittarius, Mars moving into Sagittarius. So, like, it's interesting, like, going through the final part of October, it gets very watery, and the grand water trines are very much already in by then. But as we move into early November, we actually do get a little bit more fire coming in, and we get this Mars in Sag, which is going to kind of offset some of the water energy. And what I feel about that is that that's going to give us more of an impetus to traverse these waters and to get through this. As I'm just glancing at this long list of transits, I'm sensing that beginning of November compared to end of November, we're going to be coming out of something, okay? We're going to be getting through. It's kind of like a labyrinth, and October was maybe even more like this than November. But there's a little bit of a labyrinth. There's a little bit of a kind of like tunneled energy. You guys, I was actually getting onto this a few months ago, when I was talking about, walking through a very dark kind of tunnel with like one flame, okay? And having to like really kind of move methodically but not rush through this. This is kind of intensifying, or did intensify in October, and we're now kind of like, I'm definitely seeing a light at the end of this tunnel by the end of November, and I'm seeing that I'm seeing that by the end of November, we have a lot of resolution, and we have a lot of clarity about longer terms and a little bit more structure to work with. But we do have to get through this month. Mars in Sag is going to give us a little bit more energy, though. Maybe we have a few more, sources of light to work with. Maybe we have a little bit more stamina, okay? Maybe we have a little bit more fighting spirit as well, which does feel quite depleted to me by the end of October. So that's very positive. Also, November the 5th, we have the full moon in Taurus. So that will help give us a little bit more earth as well. You see, we're balancing out a little bit in November too. So we're going to get a little bit more nutrients, a little bit more perhaps financial assistance as well, or something in the soil is helping to, help give us. So those are two things, the Mars in Sag and the full moon in Taurus, that will help to energize. So that is wonderful to see. Now, November 6th, we have Venus moving into Scorpio. So yes, we do have some debilitated romance energy, some debilitated relationship energy, and also a bit of jealousy in some cases, or a bit of spite, or even like a vengeful streak for some people coming in. So you'll want to really meter that and lean more into this Mars in Sagittarius if you can. November the 7th, Uranus is back into Taurus. Okay, so we have more anaretic energy coming in. Let's talk about that for a second. I don't like it. I'm tired of it. You can give me a comment below if you're also tired of Uranus and Taurus, but that's okay. We'll find a way to make this as good as it can be. Okay, so what this means is, again, yes, manic capitalism mode. This means perhaps having to like really spend to get through this tunnel. This may mean like overpriced things. This may mean, zero-sum games in business, like, oh, I earned all that money just to spend it all or have it all taxed away. What did it ever mean? This also can mean that like it costs too much to participate in something, or it's too loud, noisy, mechanized, or extreme to, even participate in this, okay? It also says to me, though, that there's like a desperation, that there's a confluence also with the full moon in Taurus, right? So full moon Uranus in Taurus situation here. We're going to understand the forest for the trees when it comes to our spending habits, when it comes to our justification for, doing this business, being in this industry. Again, this is all about business, industry, economy, finance, also about food, agriculture, and, the soil, okay, the earth, the top layer soil. So like, there may be a soil crisis, or there may be like a lapsing of food benefits, or as this was already happening towards the end of October. So like SNAP benefits are beginning to lapse. And also it could be like monthly benefits or some kind of like monthly incomes that could be affected by this transit, and like a need to rely less on that, or a need to not base our lives so much, as Uranus moving into Gemini And you see, we were already starting to see this. It's already kind of showing us that, there are other ways to finance. There are other ways to get results other than just from a monetary perspective, or, maybe there are different jobs for some of us, or there are different, more sustainable, more resonant, synergistic careers, okay? More creative ways, more independent ways, less overkill when it comes to earning a living, or less overkill when it comes to, again, monthly budgets and, paying the rent or paying mortgages. Okay. So like that will be something that comes back up here in November. And so don't worry too much. It's going to be very transient. And it, in a way, has already kind of run its course. But like, yeah, you could be like shocked at your credit card statement here. You could be like, oh my God, how am I ever going to pay this debt? But that will begin to change face again by the time we get, into 2026, because Uranus moves quite slowly. So that this is going to be something that we have to deal with over these next few months. Yet again, but that's okay. That's okay. We will. I think one thing that I could also say about that is like, if we wanted to maybe think, if within the next 3 or 4 months, I wanted to understand how to better budget, finance, or base my life on the ground, like what ground am I putting my house on? Where is my house? Where is my, what are the cogs that help my household and, individual lifestyle function? If I wanted to think about making that as good as it could possibly be, as restful as it could possibly be, as easy as it could possibly be, yet as sustainable and hopeful as it could possibly be, what could I do to facilitate understanding that more? What people could I consult with? What experts or advisors could I take on to make sure that there's consensus about my thoughts? And how could I come out into 2026 with a better functioning household and general lifestyle? And how could it revolve perhaps as little around like fiat currency as possible? You see, it's not quite possible, I think, for anybody on the planet right now. I can't say that, but for the majority of people on the planet, you can't totally get away from it. But like, there's definitely a sliding scale of like how immersed and reliant on it you are. And we want to be as least reliant on that junk as possible. So, but that doesn't mean, okay, let's get very specific here. That doesn't mean pushing it aside and disrespecting it. That doesn't mean, feeling so brazen as if we're not beholden to it. But it is about becoming less beholden to it, but respecting it also to the degree that it's integrated in a very powerful way. So it's a very kind of like nuanced perspective that we have to like really think about how we're dealing with like money, how we're dealing with finance, and like how destabilized it as a system or an institution is. So I don't love that. There's a few things that I don't love about the transits in November, and that is one of them. It's that Uranus coming back. And then also, yes, we have a lot of retrogrades. We have Mercury going retrograde in Sagittarius and retrograding on the Sagittarius-Scorpio cusp. Great for me. On November 9th. And between the 9th and the 18th, it will retrograde over that cusp. So we need to be very prepared with mental energy, watch out for miscommunication, try to get things as clear as possible, and try to really clarify. We also have Jupiter going retrograde in Cancer on the 11th of November. So 11/11, Jupiter retrograde in Cancer. All of that mixed together. Uranus retrograde, Jupiter retrograde, Mercury retrograde. There's this feeling of the mind changing. Okay, so changing the mind about something, Uranus and Mercury being retrograde at the same time. Also, Jupiter retrograde in Cancer, the gut changes. So the gut feelings, the intuitions. Also, the home could change. This could be a time where people move. Changing your mind about where you live. Boxes being packed, having a different gut feeling about the area that you're in, area karmas. Also, like, bad gut feelings, okay, not liking the place that things have gotten to, not sometimes knowing also why we've made certain decisions. So there's going to be this thing in November too for some people. Do not freak out if you're here. No, I don't understand why I chose this. I don't understand what I was thinking when I moved here, or when I selected this, or when I executed this decision, and like try to understand that life is an experiential, sometimes linear in a way. There can be a linear experiential line that we're moving on, and we simply do not know until we pass through. So like, none of us can predict the future. None of us can sometimes know that something is a good or bad decision until it's made. So the thing is like, we realize as we continue moving through life, like, okay, this was a good decision or this was a bad decision. And then when we realize it, we need to make the appropriate changes, or we need to make a sort of responsible trajectory as to be able to do that eventually. But we don't need to get held up in regretting what we now feel to be a bad choice. Because you may be surprised at how these have also helped you survive in ways that you didn't understand as well. By November 20th, okay, the new moon in Scorpio, we understand why we did it. Okay, we understand why we got to an emotional sort of place that we had to make certain decisions. And I don't feel that any of us regret anything that we've done, but we also know that things have to change. So I'm feeling a lot of relief in this November 20th through November 30th timeline. So between the new moon in Scorpio, then of course on the 21st, we have the not only the sun going into Sagittarius, but we have Sky's birthday on that day. The year that I was born, it was still in Scorpio, so I'm a Scorpio. But that year, to this year, it's going into Sag on the 21st. And then we have on the 27th, Saturn direct in Pisces, 29th, Mercury direct in Scorpio, and then the 30th, Venus in Sag. So like, getting to this 20th through the 29th and 30th timeline is going to really, really correct a lot of the problems. And we're going to get a very much clearer idea about the direction that things are headed. But I will tell you, up until then, and especially in that 9th through 20th timeline, I don't like it. I like the grand water trine. I like the way that it's cleansing and washing things away. And it's a big change for a lot of us. It's a big transformation, and it's manifesting a lot of important connecting points. I will say that. So like, there are like new connections here at a professional level, at every kind of level, that are really good. But there is a chaotic gray area kind of limbo energy that is perhaps struggling to work itself out until the end of the month. And even then, it's like through a lot of force supplied, or through a lot of savvy kind of sage-like energy as we hit Sag season that is required to get a lot of this going the right direction. So it's not that easy. But yes, I will go ahead and predict for you all major transformations in the month of November, major cleansing processes. And I do also feel that investment is needed here. Okay. I do feel that we have to be very scrutinous about that, and we have to make sure that we're not spending unnecessarily. But with this grand water trine, which can also be like liquidity and spending, this may mean that it takes a big spending budget to navigate some of this. This may also mean that you need a better system in place. So like, you may need a new car, new house, new computer. I don't know, these big ticket items could be on the table for some people, but it's also with like a lot of reservation that I say that, because you can easily kind of overspend here with the Uranus and Taurus. But it seems also that there's an inevitability of having to like spend our time, money, and energy on something like, in some cases, like life and death level importance. Or in most cases, hopefully just very important. But yeah, this is a definite coming of age kind of thing that we have here in November. And Scorpio season usually is anyway, especially on that cusp of Scorpio and Sag. It's very, Six of Swords kind of coming of age, transitional energy. So this year, I think that it's on steroids. And I think that it's some of the most powerful, expansive, fast current, just also possibility of growth and success here as well, that shows us who we are, that we didn't even know that we were becoming this, but we have now become it, and we have now evolved. So On that note, everyone, yes, do come over to my Patreon page linked below and get all of the sign-by-sign readings. Come and see what is on the table for each zodiac sign, as well as updates about where I'm at. All of that is available over there. Keep tuned to the community tab here. Again, hit the like button, thumbs up this video, share this video, comment. All that really helps my channel. And then, yes, I will try to get some updates over to the community tab here on YouTube as well. And thank you all so much for being here and for your kind comments and messages. And thank you for any prayers as well, as I'm navigating a very difficult time with some family health issues with my dad. So thank you all again, and I hope that this video helped you. I really enjoyed getting away and filming it today, and I hope to be talking to you all again soon. Have a great November. Much love. Bye.